Hello, everyone. Welcome to Progressive HR Live. Today, we are talking with Tracie Sponenberg, founder and chief people officer, or should I say, fractional chief people officer of Tracie Sponenberg LLC. We're discussing behind the scenes, a year in the life of a new fractional chief people officer. How are you doing today, Tracie?
I'm good, Green. How are you?
Oh, I'm excellent. We had a major
Oh,
rainstorm last night, and the windows were rattling, and everything just kind of all went crazy. And I hear we have snow in the forecast, so our first snow of the year.
oh, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that. I had snow. I was at a conference in October in northern New Hampshire, and it snowed like 3 inches up there, and I wasn't ready for that. I'm not ready for it in southern New Hampshire.
Yeah, I saw those pictures that you put online, and I thought that they were just gorgeous. So
They were
gorgeous.
beautiful. Nice
Yeah.
to look at. Not nice to be in. I'm not a winter person. I'm headed to Florida in a couple days, so that's that's more my speed this time of year.
I know I'm not a winter person either. I kind of say that I hibernate from December until February in Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
All right, well, if you're just joining us now, our live today is with Tracie Sponenberg, founder and chief people officer with Tracie Sponenberg LLC. We're discussing behind the scenes, a year in the life of a new fractional chief people officer. If you're joining us now, let us know who you are and where you're streaming from. And we'll start with our first question, and then we'll see who's joining us. So, Tracie, I'm really curious, what has your first year of being a new fractional CPO been like?
I think and people told me this and people continue to tell me this, it's not at all what I thought it would be when I started. And it's been, first of all, it's been wonderful. I think I knew going in that it would be scary. I knew going in that it would be challenging. I knew going in that you know, I'd be able to decide when I worked, where I worked, how I wanted to work, and that was a huge driver for me. But what I didn't anticipate is doing lots and lots of different things in addition to fractional work, and that's been a really beautiful surprise.
That's awesome. I know that we were just talking before we started
Yeah.
the live about how many of the different things that you're doing and how many of the different things you want to do.
Yeah. You want me to talk about it, or do we want to cover
Y-
that later?
Yeah, well, we can definitely cover that later. I've had a few comments come through of people who are joining us. So I'm just going to quick jump to the audience and see who's joining us today. So we have Larissa from Slovenia. Hi, Larissa. Thanks for joining us. And of course, Mercedes Sullivan, thumbs down to snow, she says. So agreed. And then I believe that this is, let's see, Tamika Allen from Houston. Thanks for joining us, Tamika. And Heather, streaming from Pennsylvania. Thanks, Heather, for joining us. So if you're just joining us now, go ahead, drop your name and where you're streaming from in the comments, and we'll continue with our conversation. So yeah,
I've
let's
ne-
talk a little bit more about that. What are all the things you want to do?
like everything. Oh, I wanted to say I've never been to Slovenia, but my son has and absolutely loved it. So that's absolutely on my list. It's supposed to be a beautiful, beautiful place. What am I doing? What do I want to do? So I left, figuring I'd focus solely on fractional work and doing some speaking because I was doing speaking before, and that I figured speaking would become a bigger part of what I do, which it has. Uh, but what I didn't expect is I redefined how I work, and that was a huge, huge surprise to me. Huge surprise, and I'm sure we'll get into all the why in a little bit, but what also I didn't expect is doing things like community building and brand partnerships and HR tech advising and AI advising. And, all of these things are a little bit of time that add up to, I think one of the things I wasn't good at thinking about when I first started this was diversifying income, right? So I was like, I'm a chief people officer, so I'm going to go be a chief people officer for other people. And I didn't really think about business development, which I haven't done much, if any, of that yet. I will have to do that. I didn't think much of, maybe I shouldn't put everything that I do in one place, that I should diversify that income. And so over the course of the year, I've really been thinking more about that partnerships and doing lots of different things that became available to me now that I was on my own. So I couldn't have a revenue share with a partner when I was in corporate. I wouldn't have. I know some people do that. I couldn't have really done that because it would have crossed over a line for me.
Mhm.
But all of those things add up to a lot of really fun and exciting parts of my business.
Yeah, being an entrepreneur myself, and it's funny how I say I'm an entrepreneur, but I haven't thought necessarily of myself as an entrepreneur. And I'm like just like you talk a lot about in your posts about leaning into things. And so I'm kind of leaning into that. I'm trying to lean into where we're going with progressive HR. And maybe it's just my opinion, but things are changing so fast. You think that you're going to do one thing 1 month and then it just completely turns itself on the head then the next month. Have you experienced the same thing?
Yeah, and I think the ability, I guess, the ability to be agile and to take advantage. I don't want to say take advantage, but take advantage of those opportunities to go. This is presenting itself, so I'm going to figure out how to do it, even if I don't know how to do it. Or yes, I've never done this before, but this sounds like something I might enjoy and something that I can add value to. So I'm going to try that. And the whole world of, like, say, brand partnerships and partnerships in general, I didn't even know was really a thing. And I certainly didn't know would be available to me. So that's something that I'm having a lot of fun doing, a lot of fun doing. And had I just had my blinders on and just been, I'm strict fractional, I would have missed those opportunities.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you and I, again, we're talking about brand partnerships
Yeah.
before we went live and how the world is really changing. And that's really something big coming
Yeah.
out. And more companies should do that. I don't say that selfishly. If there's any organization, human resources,
You can
technology,
reach out to either one of us. Yeah.
yeah, reach out to either one of us. I'm going to be
Yeah.
happy to help you. Dip your toe in.
Well,
uh,
it's we were talking about this offline in that, it's you have an opportunity to really help a company, whether it's a really small company or mid-size. I'm not working with enterprise level in companies in that way, but you really have an opportunity to have an impact on that brand. And that's why most of us do the work that we do. We want to have an impact. And so you can have an impact in organizations as a fractional chief people officer. I can have impact in organizations as an advisor. And I also can have impact as a brand partner when I help organizations deliver a certain message or when I help them, through other ways. And I'm getting a similar kind of satisfaction to that work as I always have in my career.
And this is also in addition to all those different impacts. Really that's the reason why I like working with brand partnerships. But the overreaching reason is to provide a better experience for HR professionals because I was in their shoes and I didn't
Yeah.
like the yucky, icky sales messages that were coming over. And you want to help brands connect with people. You want to help brands build communities with people and make the experience better. And I think that's,
Mhm.
really noble.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's fun. It's fun too. It's important work and it's really fun.
We have a question coming in, and it's a quick, easy answer to this. And Mike asks, oh, it didn't come on screen. Mike asks, does anybody know if this will be recorded for later? So yes, Mike, this is recorded, and it is on replay. It'll be on replay on LinkedIn for a various number of weeks. Um, the more comments we get, the longer it goes on replay. So hint to the audience. And so then we had a comment from Alex. Tracie, hands up.
Oh, is that
uh,
Alex? He looks like LinkedIn user. Is that my bestie? So that
that is
is,
your
is it?
bestie. Yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes, yes.
Yay.
So yeah, he has anyone, if you're curious, the reason why it says LinkedIn user is because you have to give StreamYard access to put your name and your picture up. So it's in your security and your data. So if anybody wants to quickly go into their security and data and change that, they won't come up as LinkedIn user. They'll come up as their name and their picture on StreamYard. So little known tip for those on LinkedIn.
I want to talk a little bit about Alex Seiler. So he and I
Yeah.
connected around this time last year, and we walked just about the same fractional journey. And I talked to him like an hour ago. I talk to him every day, and except when I ignore him. But it's one of the things that is really important, has been critically important to me, is to have that community, right? To have people that do what you do or have done what you do, that you can bounce ideas off of. And we did that just today. And that's so, as you and I did, right?
Right.
And so sharing information. How much do you charge for this? What what is your client paying you? This stuff that, as a Gen Xer might have been uncomfortable earlier in my career is so super necessary now, especially as you build a business.
Yeah. And I believe in an abundance. So I don't believe in gatekeeping information.
Right.
I think that if we all share and we're all on the same page, then it just comes, it's lifting each other up again as a profession. So
Yes.
even though we are not necessarily practitioners, you more than I are still in the practitioner world a little bit more, but even though we're not practitioners, we're still HR professionals at core. Our
Mhm.
love is still with the HR profession. So if anybody wonders.
Yeah, I'm still in it. I want to be in it a little bit, but not a
Yeah.
lot. So a little bit, but not a lot. Yeah.
So, and there are times when I wish that, I'll get asked questions. What do you think I should do in this case? And I'll answer like, it's been a while since I've been in the practitioner world, but this is what I see in the industry standard, or this is what I see. So it's a very different perspective. Um, but I still, again, I like to know a little bit still about what's going on in the practitioner world. So my next question, we talked about some of your favorite things, and we talked about things going well and what we really love about it. But what are the challenges that you've faced?
I hate QuickBooks, so that is no surprise. I use QuickBooks. I like have it hooked up to my corporate card, and but my husband's a CFO, and he's always like, "So, how's that going?" I'm like, "I'll figure it out at some point." So the surprise, surprise, the administrative minutia that I hated in corporate followed me into working on my own, right? And yes, could I outsource that yet? Yes. And over time, I'll probably figure out how to do certain things, outsource certain things. But for me, it was really important to do all the things, at least my first year in business, so I could learn and
Mhm.
find out what I liked and find out what I didn't like. And that one was a pretty quick one. Certainly you have to chase people for invoices once in a while. That's not fun. I'm learning about filings in my first year of business, and so I guess mostly the I'm going to get some quick, yeah, if you have QuickBook alternative recommendations, sure. But that administrative piece, that just day to day. I have Copilot. Finally, I have all of we'll talk about AI tools. I thought that was going to solve my every single problem I have. It doesn't. But they're little things.
So Jennifer Beezer says try Wave. So
I'll have to
I'm
check
not
that out.
familiar with. Yeah, so check
Yeah.
that out. I'm there with you. I don't use QuickBooks, so I'm not a super big fan. So what are your favorite times? We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, surprisingly, some of my favorite times. First of all, I work with clients in a little bit different way than I did in the beginning. But like today, I have a session with a client where we're doing a SWOT analysis and a gap analysis, and that's really fun. And so I found I'm doing these longer, deeper dive sessions with clients that I really enjoy. So, and I'm seeing not only growth in their companies and their departments, but growth in them, and that's been enormously rewarding. And then there's the creative side of things. I didn't consider myself a creative person. I didn't know how to use Canva. I didn't know how to use, we talked about ConvertKit, which where my newsletter is. I didn't know how to do a website. I figured that all out. My friend Josh Green did my website, but I figured out how to, add things on my own and do things. And I've enjoyed that one that one was difficult. That was a tough summer trying to figure that all out. But I've enjoyed that whole process of learning, which I guess makes sense because I love to learn, but learning and figuring things out on the creative side. So even making graphics, figuring out my brand colors, that's all been really super fun.
Yeah, I look at it and saying is that you don't have to do things as a creative. You don't have to do things perfect the first time. Like it eventually evolves into like
Yeah,
what could be close to perfection. And so just
not for
kind of
me.
yeah, but I'll tell you, like I know you just got it, just starting with video, and there are so many people that haven't even taken that step. So you have to give yourself props for
Mhm.
it. Maybe not be exactly what somebody look like for somebody else, but they've been doing it for years and years and
Yeah.
years. But you're still in a good place with video. So
No, it's fun, and I'll always I actually love putting together proposals. I'll find a misspelling here and there, and I'm like, well, that's me. My mind moves so fast that I'll miss it, and I'm not going to obsess over that. In the video, I'll do it my own way. I speak in my own way, and I've learned to really embrace that in who I am. Over time, it was a process, but I've learned to do that. So video, I still don't like this. I'm fine, like talking with you because it's a conversation.
mhm.
I don't feel like talking to myself as a conversation. So that is much harder for me, but I'm working on it.
Well, it's a good thing that after this, I'm going to download the recording and then clip it out just for some videos for you. So you can use.
Okay, well that's good. I can use those videos instead
Yeah.
of me talking awkwardly to my camera, which is what I usually do.
Oh, I don't think it's awkward at all. I think it's for overkill of a buzzword, authentic and real.
I can't be any other way.
Quick jump back to the audience comments. I want to make sure that I highlight these because they had LinkedIn users. So this is Denise. She's finding the conversation very insightful. And this is from Tamika, just confirming Jennifer Breezer, yes, love wave as well. So I feel we have to have beyond this wave then. So
Yeah,
there's
I need
something
to check
happening
this
here.
out. Yes, I need to check this out. And I love questions too. So if there are questions, like I love, Corinne and I talked about this, like I love just, oh, cameras froze.
Yeah,
Not for me.
if the cameras freeze, then just hit the play button again or hit the refresh button again and then hit the play button, it'll come right back. So live streams aren't perfect. But yeah, if the camera froze, hit refresh and then the play button again and it'll bring you to where we are. So I hope that helps. So you were saying something, Tracie, before we got that
What was I
notification.
I said I love questions. If people are dropping them in the chat, I love kind of off the cuff questions. So I'm happy to answer anything.
Yeah. Well, I'll put the prompt here. Then if anybody has any questions, they can add them to the comments and we'll respond live. I have a question for the audience. How many people in the audience have thought about going fractional or thought about even partially going fractional? I'm interested. Do you have any questions for the audience, Tracie?
I think that's a great question, and I think I'd love to hear from if anybody is fractional, what their biggest challenges were and what they've enjoyed the most. Kind of what you asked me.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. So, audience, what do you think? And while we're waiting for those comments to come through, um, is fractional the future? Why not?
So it was probably a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, that I started hearing about fractional. So it's been around. I think we just started hearing it called fractional more recently. And last year, it was maybe about a year and a half ago, I hired Anessa Fike, who's a fractional coach and was I think, as far as I know, one of the original fractional HR leaders. And I learned a lot from her, and I started thinking about fractional in a different way and how that could be applied to businesses, not just small businesses, because a lot of people focus on the startups and the small businesses, but larger businesses. Yes, and and Sam is a wonderful coach, and I love. She's super supportive, and she pops in and to these things now and again and says and supports and she's absolutely fantastic and runs a business club that's excellent. So thank you. And yes, Rebecca's here and Ness is great. So I really learned a ton from her and I started looking at things in a different way and how she coached me was how I need to be coached. And it's a very personal evolution. And I really do think fractional is the future. And here's why. And there's a couple of reasons. I don't know, or let me say it this way. I don't have any friends that were chief people officers that are in the same company that they were in a few years ago. And a large amount of them have left entirely, have left and started their own business, left something. So the talent that's leaving, and not just HR, but other areas too, but particularly HR, what we've been through over the past few years, the talent that's leaving is extraordinary. And also, when you break this down, I said this at a conference once last year, and this was really unpopular. Um, but if you break down what's involved in, say, you're leading a company of size, say a mid-sized company, what's involved in that strategy? Could that be done less than full time? Could it be done half time? Could it be done quarter time? Could you get the best of what somebody has to offer and have that done in a lesser amount of time? And so somebody like me could leave the workplace and have 3 or 4 clients if I wanted to, and give the best of what I can do to those clients. And maybe they have somebody in house running the day to day. So it could look a number of different ways, but yes, I definitely think fractional's the future. And we're seeing people not wanting to work in the same way that they work. I have 3 Gen Z kids. They all want to kind of do their own thing and they're going to figure out how to do it. I'm 52. I left the workplace to design my own career and start working for somebody other than not me, right? So I wanted to work, I wanted to work for myself. I didn't want to work for somebody else. And I wanted to build for my own future, not somebody else's future. And so we have to conceive, you and I have talked about this, we have to conceive
Mm-hmm.
about work in a completely different way. We have to look at it completely differently. And I live and work in the space of distribution, which has a large hourly workforce, a large in-person workforce, and we still need to think about how we work differently. And that's coming for us very, very soon.
I agree with you, and I think that there's a portion of the population that wants to be employed, and there's another portion of the population that's employed but doesn't necessarily like it, but feels like it's a means to an end. And it's been brought up a lot.
Yeah.
If universal income would kind of fix that, would universal income make things better in the fractional sense? And so
I would
it's a
think
good
so.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. Um, yeah, because I think what holds people back that are in that other space that you talked about, it's fear, and it's particularly fear of not making any money, which is a valid fear, right? And so if you take that away, what do you have? And so that's my fear. Certainly, like I vacillate between nobody is ever going to want to hire me to this is a lot. I can't do this all like sometimes within the same minute. And that's a pretty solid part of the journey. I think everybody goes through that.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
you. I
Health
hear you.
insurance too. Yeah.
Yes.
Health insurance is a huge part. That's my husband actually was a fractional, what we now call fractional CFO. I know Rebecca commented on that fractional CFO for 10 years and went back in house as I was coming out. And he was interested in being part of a team again. But benefits was a big part of that,
Hmm.
huge part of that.
Oh yeah, let's not start on the benefits
Yeah.
conversation because we'd be here forever.
Yeah.
There's a question from Rebecca. Do you think fractional roles will mostly live in HR, or do you see the rise in fractional style like finance, tech, ops, revenue? What do you think?
Everywhere, everywhere. I think I know talented people in, I think, all of those areas that have made a really great living on their own. And I think size of a company, like I always say in HR, it depends, right? The size of a company may dictate that. My company that I left last year or early this year was 800 people. So of a size where we certainly had consultants that we paired with, but would we have somebody, and I know that there is, they've used interim finance people, but would they have someone who's consistently, working on a 3-year contract, say? I don't know, but I definitely think this is not the exclusive domain of HR by any means. It's
I
the
would
world
agree
I
with
live
that.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of get an interesting question, and I was trying to think how to frame this in my mind. Do you think that skills acquisition, like a individual skills acquisition, is
Hmm.
also a deterrent from going fractional? Because
So tell me more about that.
yeah, so is it still the mindset that we work and the organization, we do projects in the organization that they assign to us, that we build our skills, and that without
Mm,
that, would we have a direction? Like a lot of times we talk about
mm,
performance management and how performance management is supposed to be this big overview of career structure for us.
hmm.
But careers are becoming unstructured, but it's still that inkling that if I step outside of my organizations, am I going to be disciplined enough to get the skills? Am I going to figure
Hmm.
out what skills I need? Do I have, am I going to be able to do this on my own?
Yeah. I mean, that could be certainly a barrier for some people. And I think, that's something that anybody leaving has to take into consideration. And, you know, for me, being disciplined to learn, I've always been driven to learn. So I've always been driven to acquire skills. So for me, that wasn't so much of an issue. Um, I'm also, and I found this out, well, but I knew when I left, but I knew for sure once I left, but I'm autistic. So I found, and I didn't know, you don't know when you're in it. I didn't know how well suited I would be to entrepreneurship as opposed to being working in an office, right? And any conflict I had with my boss, say, it in me, even me advocating for myself, I'd ask for clarity or I'd ask for this, right? And any conflict I had, I can kind of trace right back. And now my boss is me. And yes, I have clients, and how I work with clients is I'm pretty upfront, and this is how I work and this is what I need. And if there's something that arises, let me know right away and we'll work through it. And honestly, transparently, authentically, and honestly. And I think it's really important that if you're considering going on this journey, that you're pretty self-aware, that you understand, like, is this going to be good for you or is it going to be bad for you? And I know people who want no part of it, and I know people who are just thriving. And for me, I'm thriving. It's extremely well suited to my personality, my brain, how I work, everything. And I feel like I'm learning more than I did in corporate.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I enjoy having you in the entrepreneurial network with us. So I'm speaking
Back
for
at
all my
you.
other
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. um, I'm going to ask you about some career advice really quickly. But before I do that, we've got a few comments I wanted to highlight. This is from Alex, and Alex says, I highly recommend building your fractional community with folks outside of HR too. A former CFO colleague and I worked with in-house has gone fractional, and it's been helpful to discuss similarities and differences that we're experiencing. That's great advice, Alex. Thank you. And
100%
then
agree.
yeah, and in response to that, Rebecca said, Alex, I could see that as an advantage in winning business too. I have a fractional network to tap into. Yes, that's excellent, great advice. And then I just also wanted to say thank you so much to Heather and Tim. I flashed those comments on earlier. Thank you so much for the kudos. Tracie and I really appreciate, I'm talking for you, Tracie. Tracie and I really appreciate being here and sharing. We really do. And then somebody else said, this is from Alex. Rebecca, couldn't agree more. An extension of referral network on both ends. Fantastic. So really quickly, before we get into talking about AI, what advice do you have? Additional advice, because you've already given us so much advice about being fractional. What additional advice do you have for audience members thinking about going down the fractional route?
I think find your community, right? And so we'll at the end we're going to share a little QR code and you can scan that. And it's just like a one-page thing I put together for this of some of my favorite fractional resources, and one of them is Fractional People, which I think anybody looking to explore really needs to be a part of Fractional People because it's just this giant community of people sharing all kinds of different things, right? And so if you're considering stepping out on your own, join a community like that. Talk to as many people as you possibly can. I never turn down a fractional chat. I know Alex doesn't either. So we're always chatting with people, even if it's for a few minutes, about, hey, here's our experience. Because thank you. I figured out how to
Yeah, I think
create
we're
QR
talking about it. I
codes.
should put
That's
the
a
QR code
skill.
up.
Yeah, I figured out how to do that. That's a skill that I learned recently, that I didn't know how to do before this year, which seems very simple. But yeah, so if you'll be subscribed to my newsletter, but you'll also automatically get sent a one-page, really simple fractional resources, and not tips so much as resources and things that have been helpful to me. So there's that, and then there's Sam's Business Club, which is really terrific as well. And so finding that community, talking to as many people as you possibly can, and having an idea of, where the intersection of, what you're really good at, what businesses need, what you love to do, and what you can make money doing. Because sometimes, I was thinking maybe I do straight fractional, and that's a harder sell in my industry than, combining that with some advisory work, right? And so had I had more time or thought more, I might have scoped that out a little bit. So, which is weird because I researched the heck out of everything. But, doing as much planning as you can in advance and really knowing yourself. I talk to a lot of people who are pretty, this is what I want to do, this is how, but I talk to a lot of people who have no idea. And the resources are out there. And back to the self-awareness, you have to really know yourself in order to do this.
Yeah, that is great advice. Bree asked, do you have any advice apart from what you've already shared for an HR professional fairly early on in their career who would like to eventually move into fractional roles?
Learn as much as you possibly can. Just learn and absorb. And, I actually think working in different companies is an advantage if you go out on your own. So working in different kinds of companies is a huge advantage. And I don't think you have to be, have a certain years of experience to go fractional. There are fractional people at all different levels doing different things. So, I think I knew when the time was right. For me, it was a lot later than a lot of people, but and Mike has some great advice. Yeah, grow your network, try a lot of different things, do a lot of different things, and learn.
Yep, and I'll add to that, just don't be afraid to experiment. That's one thing that, when you're on your own, when you're a solo entrepreneur, even though I have a little bit of a team behind me, if I need to do something real quick, sometimes I have to learn it on my own. So got to go to Google, and I just learned Notion the other day. So, and that was a fabulous part to add to my tech stack. So it's really about trusting in yourself that you do have every skill that you were going to need, and agreed with, lean on your community. So. All right,
Notion
Tracie,
is still out there for me, right? I had a conversation with Kim Minnick a while back just on Notion. She's a Notion expert, but I may have to tap into you for some questions because I feel like I need to learn that.
Yeah, I was talking with Jesse and Chauffeur the other day, from Stacked, and I was kind of giving her being like, I don't know, LinkedIn. I wouldn't say I'm a LinkedIn expert, but I think I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I was saying I'm trying to figure out a way to do this specific thing, and she's like, try Notion, and it
Mm.
worked. So
Mm.
yeah, it was great. So again, just ask your community questions. Everybody here is willing to help support each other. So let's talk about AI in the
Mm.
last 10 minutes that we have.
Right.
Let's talk about more about how you are using AI, because we were recently on a brand partner event with Bucket List Rewards and Recognition, and we started the conversation about AI, and Tracie brought up that she uses AI as a thought partner, and I thought that was really cool. So we said we're going to get back to that
Yeah.
conversation in this conversation. So
Yeah, yes, yes. And I'm not an AI expert. I look at friends Amanda Holly and Teresa Fessenstein for that in the HR space, and there's lots of other folks. But I'm definitely a bright, shiny object adopter. So I was like, ChatGPT came out a couple of years ago, and I was like, yes, I'm going to try this. I'm going to figure this out. So I'll try things. And what I figured out was I don't use AI to write. A lot of people do, and I know that because a lot of people are commenting on my posts with AI that are either bots or AI writing. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. I don't use it for that, but I use it to accelerate my thinking. So I'll dump a bunch of ideas, or for example, if I'm working on a proposal for a potential client, I'll dump a lot of my ideas in this. And Alex and I talked about this earlier today. He's a Claude fan. I like Claude. I use Perplexity a lot. And, one of the things that I've learned more recently was it can, because it goes out to the internet, it can research you. So if I'm looking at a proposal for a company or something like that, I will have it research me, have it research them. It can help generate a starting point for pricing. It can help generate the things that you're best at. It can help generate ideas for talks or for questions for panels. I used it for that. It can teach you how to do just about anything. I used Perplexity when I learned how to do the back end and the website. And so it's been really, really, really fun. So I look at it like we talk about Copilot, literal, the Microsoft
mhm.
Copilot, but AI being our kind of digital assistant and sitting by with us. And that's really how I use it. And I have paid subscriptions to ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and now Copilot, which is probably overkill, but I'm testing them all out for different things
Yes.
and seeing what I like. I'm not a fan of Copilot so far. So if anybody really loves Copilot, let me know. It is not like that's not what I asked you. So
I know.
so if
I know.
anybody
Copilot has more hallucinations than ChatGPT, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. No, it hasn't, and this is like the Copilot embedded within in my Outlook system. So yeah, it has been interesting. But yeah, it's a tool. Like it's a tool like any other. And I love to research. So that's why I gravitate toward Perplexity because you can check the sources. So if you ever go to ChatGPT for statistics, you'll find all these great statistics, and like some of them are just completely wrong or really, really old, right? And so I become a huge fan of that. So it just sits by me all day. I use it when I need to. If a product I like has been discontinued, it goes to Reddit and it will go search the subreddits and find why and what happened. And so it's been really, really fun in work and personal life, vacation planning, recipes, all kinds of things. I use it all the time.
So can you get a free trial of Perplexity, or is it paid right
Yeah.
away out of the
Yep.
gate?
No,
Okay,
it's free.
cool.
You get a limited number of searches. So it's really I talk about it all the time because it's really one of my favorite tools for sure.
Yeah, I've got to search up some statistics on the efficacy of LinkedIn Lives
Mm.
coming up. So think I'm
Yeah,
gonna
try
use
it.
Perplexity because I use Copilot and I knew it wasn't going to work, but I still did it anyway.
Yeah.
Slap my hand. All
Yeah.
right, everybody. So we've got 5 minutes left in this LinkedIn Live, and I really want to talk about what is upcoming for Progressive HR Live in December and then in the new year. So as we did last year, we're going to have a year-end roundup and 2025 trends. Tracie's going to join myself, Mindy, Kristen, and a whole bunch of other great guests from past Progressive HR lives and talk about 2025 trends. We're definitely going to be talking about AI and fractional again. So that event is not up, but it will be coming up tomorrow. I swear, I promise, I'm going to put the event page up tomorrow. So if you want a first invitation to that event, go ahead and just type yes in the comments, and I'll make sure that you're one of the first people that I invite. And then in January, Priya Punia from IBM is going to be coming on, and we're going to be talking about AI enablement. So that is AI enablement for employees is going to be the first conversation that we have in January. And then in February, Jesse Sofer from Stacked is going to be coming on, and we're going to be talking about their HR technology resource for HR professionals. And again, those events aren't up yet, but I'm hoping to get those up very, very soon.
I love Stacked. I love following Stacked in their journey. It's super, super cool.
Yeah, it is. And just the way she's been putting it together and the discipline and the commitment to it. It's something that all HR professionals need is that resource of a very open way to research HR technology. So I'm super stoked for that. And so last 3 minutes, is there anything that you want to ask or talk about, Tracie?
Yeah, if there's any last minute questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I think first of all, I'm grateful to you. It's always fun when I get to partner with you on something like this, and I always say yes because I do enjoy it. And I think I want to just kind of go back to something you said earlier, like we're all better together, right? And if somebody is thinking of stepping out on their own, help is just like a Zoom away or a phone call away or an email away or a LinkedIn message away, right? Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, even if it's on LinkedIn, who you see doing something that you think is interesting. And connecting with others literally changed my life. And so that's something that no matter what I'm talking about, I try to always talk about because I'm a deeply introverted autistic woman who has trouble making friends, and by reaching out digitally, which is much more comfortable for me, it's enriched my lives in so many ways. And yes, everybody should join Fractional People. It's really terrific.
I'll throw it up there. All right, everybody. Fabulous. Tracie, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you.
I loved talking when you started this journey last year around this time. And we had the idea that we were going to get back together and talk about it a year later. I'm so glad that came to fruition. And I'm glad that we've, been so connected over the course of the last year and have followed each other's journeys and love your posts. Like, I love that you are a very consistent poster almost every day. I worship that about you.
It's grounding that kept me grounded during the pandemic. And if I have something to post, I do. Usually I have a lot going on in my brain, so I do. But if I don't, I don't. But yeah, that helped get me through the toughest years of the early pandemic. So just something consistent every day. And I love your content as well. And that's a great example of a friendship kind of born out of this digital place on LinkedIn. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah. And we've never met in real life.
No, we will someday. We'll figure that out.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We know that you had a lot to do with your time today. And so we are blessed that you're here with us today. And we'll see you hopefully next month. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Do I stay on?